this meeting of the Duncanville Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of Board of Trustees is present and that the meeting has been duly called and the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Good evening. Our mission at Duncanville ISD is to engage, equip, and empower all scholars to achieve their unique potential. We will now go into closed session. Okay, we're back from closed session. We'll now move to take action on items from closed session. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of the listed recommendation as presented? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions?
Is that for both positions?
Just one.
Okay, thank you.
We'll do another one in just a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Passes. Motion carries 7-0. Do I have another motion to approve the appointment of the listed recommendation as presented?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Kathleen, will you now introduce our new directors?
Good evening, Mr. President, Dr. Smith, Board of Trustees. It is my pleasure to present to you this evening our candidate for the Director of Media and Public Relations, Ms. Angela Davis Henry. Ms. Henry, will you join me? Mrs. Angela Davis Henry is joining the district as the Director of Media and Public Relations. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Pan-African American Studies from California State University and a Master of Arts in Teaching from Bowie State University. She brings over 25 years of experience in the field of education. She has served as a teacher, master teacher, specialist, instructional supervisor, and most recently as the K-12 Social Studies Curriculum Coordinator in Arlington ISD. Mrs. Davis Henry is an innovative educator, an effective communicator that has served as a production assistant at BET and worked in external affairs at Georgetown Medical Center. In addition to her work-related experiences, Mrs. Davis Henry is very active in her community and brings expertise in public speaking and presentations, strategic planning, and building community partnerships and event planning. We are so excited to welcome her to the Duncanville ISD family. Mrs. Angela Davis Henry. And we will ask anyone who is here with Mrs. Davis Henry this evening to please stand and be recognized. Thank you all for joining us. Next, Ms. Tracy Markham. Ms. Markham, will you join me? Ms. Tracy Markham joins the district as the Director of Nutrition Services. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Business from Western Governors University. She began her career in nutrition services as a cafeteria worker in 2003. Her skill set was quickly noticed, and since that time, she has been promoted to positions in almost every capacity within the Nutrition Services Department, including kitchen manager, nutrition supervisor, general manager, and Director of Nutrition Services. She currently serves as the Director of Area Operations for Southwest Food Service Excellence, where she is responsible for serving 3 district school nutrition programs with over 32,000 students and a budget of over $27 million. Ms. Markham brings expertise in budget preparation, project planning and design, government regulations, and bid specifications. We are thrilled to have Ms. Markham join the Duncanville ISD family. Thank you, Ms. Markham. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. Now we move on to opening ceremonies. Our invocation will be given by Trustee Vera Cruz.
Good evening, everyone. If you would please bow your head with me for a moment of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to meet together. Please help us to come together to make this business reflect your kingdom. Breathe life into the educators, students, and team of 8. I pray that our ideas and decisions are reflective of love and respect at its heart. May every leader and representative here be a shining example of your goodness and truth within the school district and beyond. This we pray in his name, amen. Amen.
We will now have the presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Would you follow along with the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the text says, honor
The Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you.
We'd like to thank our members of tonight's color guard from the Duncanville High School Army JROTC program under the leadership of retired First Sergeant Judith Atkinson. We appreciate you being here and leading us. Now we will move on to Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President, President McNeely, board members, those that are in attendance. I have the following items. to report on the superintendent's report. The first item is on our device deployment. Duncanville ISD is excited to put a personal electronic device in the hands of every student for this school year. Through our one-to-one device initiative, which we call Impact Learning, each student has received or will receive an electronic device for their academic use. Campuses have been assigned specific dates for the distribution process. Our students in grades 2 through 12 will receive a Chromebook, and students in pre-K through first grade will receive iPads. This electronic device will remain with the student until they graduate, leave the district, or receive a new device based on regular device replacements or grade promotion. So not only have we put a device in the students' hands, we've also offered insurance for our parents. Students have an opportunity to get insurance to cover their device, pay for any damages that might occur. We've completed what we call a parent and student guide. Our technology department has compiled important information for our parents so that they can review before the child receives the device. We've also developed a document with frequently asked questions, and it's a guide that covers information on the device damage, parent expectations, and many, many more questions that we think our parents would want to know. And we have a device handling and care video. And so this video can be watched so that you can learn how to help your child take care of the device. This is something that our board invested in during the pandemic. This was a vision from our school board, and we are so excited that we've been able to follow up and complete and launch this initiative and make sure that all of our students have what they need electronically to work both at home and at school in that dual platform. So we're really excited about that and wanted to report on that. The next item that I have for you is an update or report on the Duncanville High School Band. I was so proud to join our band in San Antonio. They did an absolutely awesome job. We're proud of the hard work of our band. Of course, they advanced to the state championship. They earned the opportunity to showcase their talents at the UIL State Marching Band Competition a couple of weeks ago. With over 300 students in our band, it takes an extraordinary leadership for my band directors, our parents, our students, to execute at the level that they did. They were absolutely awesome. It was a one-of-a-kind performance, and they did exceptionally well. Was very, very proud of Mr. Teal and the team. We finished 22 out of 46 bands, and so that was a great start for us. The students had a good time. I got so much positive feedback from members of other bands and other communities on the class act that our students were. So just a great, great performance and a great time in San Antonio. You think about having 300 kids, taking them to the mall, 300 teenagers, taking them to the mall, 300 teenagers, not 300 teenagers, taking them to the mall, stopping at Buc-ee's and on the way there. And we basically took up the entire Buc-ee's.
How many buses?
But I can't remember how many buses. It was a lot. But it was at every step of the way, what you would be most proud of is how complimentary everyone was of our young people. Their professionalism, their class, their manner, how nice they were. And so that really makes you feel good. They did an awesome job. So kudos to our band, and so we're just getting started. It's good for Mr. Till. It's his first year as band director, and in his first year, he gets us to a good place with a state competition. The next item that I have is the Panther Angel Tree. We are really in the season of giving. And so the Panther Angel Tree Initiative, this is a special opportunity to come together as a Duncanville family, put a smile on faces for our students who are in need during the holiday season. As a district, we're committed to providing gifts for approximately 102 students who've all been pre-selected by their campus personnel based on need. And so special thanks goes out to our counseling department, the counselors who provided the names of the students, who worked with the families. Each Panther Angel has a label with the student's name on it and the campus information on there. And so these 102 students will receive clothes and gifts and toys and whatever else that they need and have asked on their cards for their Panther Angel tree. Monday, December 5th, before the end of the day, those students will be will be distributing the items to the classes. And so it's a great time to do something special. We've got several other things that we'll be reporting on. The co-drive is another, but this is the first that we're launching, and this is just a great opportunity to give back to our students and to those that are in need. That concludes the superintendent's report. Turn it back over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. We'll now move on to recognitions. I'll turn the meeting over to Connie Wallace.
All right. Good evening, President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. I am delighted to share the donations that we have received for this month. We have 2 donations, and they are coming to us from the, next slide, please. They are coming to us from the Duncanville area retired school employees, as well as Keys Tennis Center for some tennis items that they have donated to us, tennis rackets, and DARS has provided some food items for our district. So thank you to DARS and to Keys Tennis Center. Next slide. Any questions about the donations that we've received this month? Okay, all right. Hearing none, if I may, I'll move to the next item that I have. President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith, it is once again our time to celebrate our Made with Pride. Made with Pride in Duncanville is an opportunity for us to recognize a student, teacher, and staff member for the impact they have on members of the Duncanville ISD community. And we received numerous nominations, making it really difficult for us to select one person per category, but each month we hunker down and we get it done. And so this month we are excited to introduce 3 folks to you. In a moment, you'll get a chance to see their video that'll highlight them a lot further. We have 2 individuals that are not able to be with us today, but one of them is Marisol Chavez, and she really wanted to be here tonight, but she had to take her daughter back to college. But Marisol is a pre-K teacher, pre-K3 teacher aide at Smith Elementary School, and she was nominated by her teacher, the teacher of her classroom, Miss Lupita Villalobos. And the other person that is not able to be here this evening is our student. She was able to come in a little while ago, but they had a family commitment that they had to go to, and so she got her pictures taken, but she was very excited. And her name is Olivia Oliver. And Olivia was nominated by her grandmother and her grandfather. And Olivia is at Duncanville High School. She is a member of the Honor Society, co-captain of the drumline, and she is a phenomenal student. You'll get to learn a little bit more about her on her video here in just a moment. But tonight we do have in our presence one of our Made with Pride in Duncanville nominees or honorees, and that is Miss Floyd Jones. Her students and folks affectionately call her Miss Flojo. So that's what I was about to say, so I'll just go ahead and say it. Miss Flojo, will you join me here at the podium? Miss Floyd Jones is the DH. She is I'm sorry, I'm skipping lines. She is an 8th grade science teacher at Kennemer Middle School in the STEAM Academy. Did I get that right? Yes. And she was nominated by a former student, Miss Celeste Sorrells, as well as a former colleague, Miss Ika Johnson. Okay, and they are here today, or at least one of them's here today. Miss Flojo, they have said some really great things about you. They wanted everybody to know that you go above and beyond for your students. Your colleague, Miss Johnson, Miss Ika Johnson, she said that Miss Jones is a passionate educator. She is innovative and engages students socially, emotionally, and academically. Students feel safe to learn in her classroom, and her passion and energy are magnetic. And her former student said, Miss Flojo was my 8th grade science teacher who still keeps up with me to this day, and I am now in college. She pushed me throughout the years to be the best me and to never give up. She loves hard, but what helped but was very instrumental in helping each of us grow into well-rounded adults today. So we are very glad that you are here with us in Duncanville ISD, and we are honored that you are our Made with Pride in Duncanville honoree. So let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. And we have a video that we'd like to show, but while the video is getting queued up, if there are family and friends here with Miss Jones, if you'll stand and be recognized. Yay, thank you for your support. Yes. All right, and we are ready for our Made with Pride in Duncanville video.
Duncanville ISD congratulates the following student, staff member, and teacher who are made with pride in Duncanville.
My name is Olivia Oliver, and I'm a senior at Duncanville High School. So starting from a real young age, my grandma really instilled the importance of reading and writing and just academics in general. And I really carry that all throughout my entire academic career. I personally enjoy school. Learning to me is fun, like reading and understanding the way that the world works and the way that it connects everyone everywhere. I feel like that's really important. How I've balanced everything is really just remaining focused in your goals. I feel like just being in high school and just figuring everything out, it's just a distraction all within itself. But if you place a goal where you want to be, how you want to get there, it will just fall in line for you. You just have to keep your path straight.
I'm the type of person that if it's something that I love, you're going to get 1,000% out of me. Even if I'm tired, exhausted, at my wit's end, about to pull my hair out, I'm going to keep pushing through because my ultimate goal, I don't care if it's the 120 kids that I teach or if it's the 900 in this building, every child I encounter, I want to be successful. So I wanted these kids that I teach to know that I'm here for them. I see you, you know, what is your goal? I'm going to help you as much as I can get to that goal. So I just let them know that even once you leave my classroom, I'm still going to be there for you.
Hi, my name is Marisol Chavez. I'm a pre-K 3-8 at Smith Elementary School. I work for Duncanville ISD for 9 years already. I like it. I always try to give 100%, and I try to be here every day for my 19 kids. I say mine because I love them and I love to see they smile. I feel so excited when I see they want to come every day and learn something new. I know they need a lot of help. Every single day, not one day, every single day they need help. And I love to treat the students how I want somebody to treat my kid. I think Ms. Villalobos and me, we work as a team. I think we're the perfect team.
These honorees truly are made with pride in Duncanville.
Let's give it up for them. Can I get you to go stand with them? And if I can ask the board, if you'll please stand so that you can be photographed with her. 2 more recognitions. President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. Miss Annette Venezuela, if you will please join me at the podium. There she is. All right. So we are super excited to recognize Miss Valenzuela this evening, and this is a collective honor that she is here representing. We are honored that she is here with us this evening. She is the DHS art teacher, and she's the National Art Honor Society sponsor. And recently, you guys may have seen in the newspaper, but also on our website, that we are a district of distinction. And we are honored that through her hard work and her effort, the Texas Art Education Association, they announced the 59 winners of the 2022 District of Distinction Award, and we are one of those districts. Yes. So districts received the honor for providing a well-rounded education that advocates and integrates visual arts curriculum to inspire creativity and build social, emotional learning that connects learning to their community and beyond. So Ms. Valenzuela has been very adamant that she does not want to take credit for this award alone. She wanted to make sure that we all know that it was a collective effort by all of the art teachers here in Duncanville, and a few of them actually joined her this evening. So if you are an art teacher, if you'll please stand and be recognized. So I would like to invite you to the front so that you can take a picture with our board, and we have a certificate. And if our art teacher colleagues, come on down. We want you in the picture too. So come on. All right, but last but certainly not least, I would like to invite First Sergeant retired Judith Atkinson to please join me at the podium. We are excited that Duncanville High School has successfully launched the JROTC program this school year, and I would like to turn it over to Sergeant Atkinson so that she can please introduce her students, any staff members that may be here, tell us a little bit about your program, some highlights and any upcoming activities that you want to briefly share with us.
Good evening, everyone. So our national anthem singer is my battalion commander. Her name is Cadet Major Hernandez. To the right of her is my battalion executive officer, Cadet Captain Villa. To the right of her is our sergeant major, our battalion sergeant major, which is Cadet Sergeant Major Lane. Next to him is Cadet Second Lieutenant Ryan Johnson, who is one of my color guard members, along with, who's that next to him? Cadet Second Lieutenant McDowell, who is also on the color guard team. Next to her is Cadet Second Lieutenant Wofford, and my cadet captain, she is the captain of the color guard team at the end, that is Corporal Scott. So we have 104 cadets in the program with maybe 200 on a wait list. They are excited to be in the program. We have competed in our first competition on the 5th of November. We went to the Veterans Day Parade in Fort Worth on the 11th, which was Friday, in the rain, and we marched, and the kids was so excited. We have done 4 home games at the football game, and we're just so excited to be here. The kids are excited. We have our open house coming up on the 8th of December. You all are welcome to come. If you have any questions, cadet staff will be around to show you the area, answer any other questions that you may have for them, and just to get to know them better. We will be also planning our military ball for this April. We will invite you all to attend to show you how we have grown. That's all we have. Any other question?
Thank you, and that concludes the recognitions.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. We'll now move on to conduct a public hearing to allow the public participation to discuss the E-rate requirement. The presenter is Dr. Brian Brown.
Good evening, President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. This public hearing is being held in compliance with the Federal Communications Commission Universal Service Program, otherwise known as E-rate. E-rate places several requirements on districts that receive funding through the program, including this public hearing. Duncanville ISD has received over $1.5 million over the course of the current funding cycle. We use E-rate to purchase or subsidize the purchase of our internet connections, network connections between academic campuses, and internal networking equipment. Duncanville ISD utilizes best-in-class technological protection measures to monitor and prevent access to online materials that would reasonably be considered harmful to minors. The term technological protection measures refers to our content filter, our firewall, and our network analysis equipment. These are specialized systems that we configure or program to monitor and block access to inappropriate content. We also monitor the online activities of adults utilizing the district network and utilize the same technological protection measures to prevent access to malicious and inappropriate materials. We're able to adjust the level of content filtering based upon the identity of the user, be it student, teacher, administrator, or guest. Finally, we have a digital citizenship curriculum that addresses online behavior, privacy, and awareness of cyberbullying. Their curriculum is primarily employed by our campus librarians, but is also available to classroom teachers. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Are there any public comments? None? Okay. We'll move on to the public hearing to discuss the first financial accountability rating district report of the school's financial integrity rating of the system of Texas. Dr. Bigby?
Good evening, President McNeely, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith. As you know, each year, the Texas law requires that we report to you on the the first ratings of the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. Keep in mind, this is 21-22, but it's on data from 2021. It's the 20th year they've had first in existence, and the primary goal is just to monitor districts. For the first 19 years, we had received a superior rating. This time we received a meets standard achievement, and I'll explain that to you in just a second. The whole idea of it is to let the taxpayers know that you as a board and the superintendent are being good stewards of their money. Okay, next slide. We received 92 points this year, which is high enough to receive a superior rating, but because the audit of 2021 found some material weaknesses, our score was capped at 79. So there was no misappropriation of funds, there was no money missing. It was primarily just some accounting situations that happened to involve quite a bit of money, and that's what made it material. So once again, I want to emphasize the fact that nothing's missing, nobody absconded with the money. It's just accounting errors, and they came out in the audit. And by the way, they've all been fixed for this year. Next slide, please. First one was, if you remember, we borrowed from the general fund to buy textbooks back in 2021. We were starting earlier than normal, and we weren't going to have the textbook money in. So you as a board approved us moving the $2.2 million out of the general fund into the textbook fund. And when we spent it from the textbook fund. The $2.2 million was spent on textbooks. Next slide. Problem comes in on when we got the money back. What we did is we got the money in from TEA and we deposited it into the general fund, where in fact what we should have done when the money came in is deposited it in the textbook fund and then adjusted that from the textbook fund to the general fund. Because it was $2.2 million, it made it a material situation, and it was adjusted, before the audit was finished. Okay, next slide. Second one, we had a construction bill that came in June of 2020, and we typically close out all purchase orders at the end of June, except construction. This happened to be for the Teaching and Learning, Dr. Smith Teaching and Learning Center. And so we didn't get it paid till July. And as you know, you can't pay last year's bills with this year's. It should have been accrued into this year, and then when the payment was made, it would have erased that accrual. So once again, it was adjusted with an audit correction, and we'll certainly watch that in the future. Next slide. Another one was bond refunding. If you remember, we refunded bonds in that year. Instead of breaking out the costs and for the money that we received for those, we put them all into one section, and we should have broken it out into how we'd paid our financial advisor and the other bond people. And instead of doing that, we just grouped it all in together. And once again, the total was correct, it just wasn't put in the right places. And once again, because it was a large amount of money, it made it material. Okay, next slide. Once again, there's 20 indicators. We got 92 out of 100 points. Superior rating takes 90 points. Next slide. And there's the scales. You can see the C meets standard 60 to 79. We couldn't go above 79 because of the material weaknesses. Okay, next slide. The two that we didn't get the full 10 points on, one was long-term liabilities to total assets, is determined by the state anyway that it didn't support long-term solvency. I think it probably does here, but it's just the way the numbers are put together. We lost 4 points there. And district administrator costs, we gained 6 and lost 4 points there. And number 17 is the one that put the ceiling at 79 points when we had material weaknesses in our internal controls. Okay, next slide. And you can see both of those indicators, we were very close to moving up to 8 points or to 10 points. And hopefully the number 11 will improve that. We're probably not going to improve the administrative cost ratio a whole lot because that's the way this district's constructed. We've employed a lot of Function 21 administrative kind of help for our campuses, and that's, I believe the board is much aware of that. And if we're going to keep supporting the campuses that way, then we're probably going to continue to lose points on the administrative cost one. Okay, next slide. In addition, and you don't have this in your packet, but we have to attach any transactions involving the superintendent or you. We have to keep up with your travel as a board member. They're listed by position, not by name. Those have to be part of it. Any compensation the superintendent might have received outside the district. If there's any gifts from vendors to executive officers or board members over $250, and if you happen to have a business and do business with the district as a board member, then those have to be reported. Okay, next slide. And that's the first report. Be glad to try to answer any questions you might have.
Questions?
Thank you.
Are there any public comments on the first financial accountability rating district's report on the school's financial integrity rating system of Texas? Good. Okay, we'll now move on to any public comments from citizens to discuss pending agenda items before the board. None. Okay. We will now consider the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have any motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we move items under 10, the action agenda items B and F, to the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to move item B and C off the action agenda to the consent agenda. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Now do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor? 7-0. Okay. Let's see. Now we'll move on to our action agenda. Item A, audited financial report. Presenter is Dr. Bigby.
Good evening again. Seems like we're talking about audits a lot. As you know, each year by Texas law, we have an external auditor come in. They've just completed that. You should have a booklet that looks like this with this presentation at your place. Sarah Dempsey is here with Weaver and Tidwell, and is going to go over this with you and certainly answer any questions that you might have. So, Sarah.
Thank you, President McNeely, board members, and Dr. Smith. I'm happy to be here to present the audit. This is for the June 30th, 2022 fiscal year. Next slide. And my name is Sarah Dempsey, that was mentioned. I'm the partner on the engagement, and Jeff Wada was the senior manager. We also have a team of about 4 other auditors that join us for the audit. We're out here in June for interim, and then we're out here in September and October to do the audit. Next slide. Next slide. So to give you the good news up front, you have your financial statement audit results, an unmodified opinion on your financial statements, so that's the highest level of opinion that you can receive. There are no material weaknesses to report to you, so what you just heard about the first rating was from 2021. This is the 2022 audit, and there are no material weaknesses in this year's report. No significant deficiencies to report to you as well in the financial statement audit, and then there was no non-compliance noted during the financial statement audit. Next slide. We also do an audit over federal funds. So if the district expends more than $750,000 of federal money, there's a single audit. This year we had ESSER, Title I, and Special Education Cluster. Those had an unmodified opinion, so there were no errors in those financial statements or audits of those programs. No material weaknesses in those programs. We had one significant deficiency. It doesn't change the effect on a first rating, and it was 2 errors out of a sample of 40 that we're required to report. And that information is in the audit report and deals with just not having written documentation when we were looking for some information on levers of the district. So very good overall results for the audit to not have any material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies over the financial statement audits, and then to have ESSER, Title I, special education are all large dollar amounts, and to not have any material weaknesses is very good. Next slide. So we do a risk-based audit. We're auditing, looking for overstatement of revenues, understatement of expenses. Our management level risk is override of controls, so making sure that there's proper approval in place. Next slide. And then this is our required communications. So letting you know that we do the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. The next slide will talk about generally accepted government auditing standards. And then the next one will be about the single audit guidance. So really just letting you know the standards that we're following when we're doing the audit, and that we're required to do that, and that while we're providing the audit, the financial statements are the district's responsibility. So we'll go to 8, then 9, and then the next one. So there were no unusual transactions to bring to your attention. This would be something that we wouldn't have guidance on. We did implement the lease standard this year, so GASB 87, you'll now have leases that were going through the income statement. You're paying your expenses for renting equipment or buildings, things like that. It now moved to the balance sheet. So that was one of the standards that were implemented this year. And then SAS 134 was also implemented, which changed the opinion letter this year. Next. No fraud or irregularities to point out. None were noted during the course of the audit. And then I talked about the significant deficiency, no material weaknesses. The estimates were evaluated and determined to be reasonable. And then at the end of the audit, what we get is a management representation letter saying we have given you everything and you have the information you need, and we got that on today's date. Next. We're not aware of any other consultations with other firms, no independence issues, and there are no past adjustments to bring to your attention, so no audit adjustments that were passed upon. There's no other written communication to bring to your attention, and there's nothing to note from our risk-based audit. So next is the financial highlights. Just wanted to cover those quickly with you, since this is probably the first time that you're able to see the financial statements. Next slide. So looking at the revenues, this is just a pie chart to show you 2021 compared to 2022, so that you can see that the local portion last year made up 40%. That's your taxes. This year it was 46%. So the pie looks very similar to prior year. Nothing unusual to point out there. From the comparisons, it was $168 million of revenue this year, and that's all of the governmental funds. So that's general fund, capital projects, debt service, and special revenue funds, which was an increase of 6.8%. So you saw that primarily in an increase in your tax revenue, and then also your federal programs increased about 11.2 million. So that was a substantial increase there. There was a decrease in your state revenue of about 2.6, and so this is where you can see the chart of a 4-year trend showing you that your state, your local government, your local revenues are increasing, which is causing the state revenue to decrease. And then this year you see that big jump with the federal program revenue. Next slide. And so again, similar with the expenditures, this is all the governmental funds and the pie chart broken out for you. You can see it's very similar again to prior year. Nothing to point out in particular here, just showing you where those department and those functional expenditure breakouts are. And then this year, expenditures totaled $169.1 million, which was an increase of 1.9% from prior year. The largest ones, the expenditures did decrease in the general fund due to the computer purchases in the prior year. The capital projects fund decreased their expenditures just as the capital projects are coming to a close, and the majority of that was spent in 2021. Debt service fund is where you saw the major increase, which was $957,000 due to the debt payments. And then as you saw with the $11.2 million of grant revenue coming in, there was $7.4 million that went out, so an increase there as well. And then this is just looking at it over the course of 4 years again, nothing in particular standing out to direct your attention. And so this is the last slide to show you what your fund balances are at year end. You've got general fund at 62.9, debt service at 12.6. Your capital projects fund had about 140,000, and then the non-major governmental funds, your special revenue funds at 2.6 million. So overall, your governmental funds fund balances increased approximately 2.1 million. 2.4 of that was an increase in the other financing sources for issuing bonds. And then your debt service fund decreased about 486,000, and your non-major fund balances increased 3 million. Approximately 2.3 of that was due to a transfer from the general fund to child nutrition. And that's the audit results. I'm here to answer any questions.
Questions? None? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the comprehensive annual financial report for 2021 and 2022?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Yeah, and thanks to everyone. It's a hard process, and we appreciate all the work that went into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going, we don't resell the bonds. You're up, Dr. Nix.
Thank you, sir.
Tell us about the cruisers.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Good evening, President, McNeely, members of the board, Dr. Smith. Board, as you can recall, in the September meeting, we brought for your consideration as an information item a wonderful opportunity for our students to perform on a cruise. However, at that time, we did not have command of all of the information needed to protect the district and the children. Wonderful opportunity, but there was a lot of work that we needed to do on our part to shore up a lot of loose ends. So since that time, we have worked with our legal counsel, have revisited the information in terms of what we have our parents and our students to sign. So I'm going to read for you just a small snippet for you to consider. Members of the Duncanville High School Hi-Hats drill team have been invited by Performing Arts Consultants Music Festivals. The acronym for that is PACMF, to perform aboard a Carnival cruise departing from Galveston, Texas, and traveling to Cozumel, Mexico. The Hi-Hats will perform aboard the ship Carnival Breeze for passengers, for family, the Carnival crew members at the Ovation Theater, that's the ship's main performance stage. PACMF is a student travel company based in New Jersey that provides travel services and performance opportunities to students, to student performance groups. PACMF's proposed travel itinerary and contract for the Hi-Hats has been provided for your review. The district is not a party to the contract. It is not providing any funding for this trip. However, in consideration for the privilege of performing as the Hi-Hats drill team associated with Duncanville High School and the Duncanville Independent School District. The district requires the students and their parents or legal guardians to provide a release of liability, waiver and acknowledgement, acknowledging the risk of international travel, waiver and and releasing all claims against the district, its trustees, agents, employees, chaperones, and sponsors. Similarly, all chaperones are required to execute a release of liability and waiver. Under board policy, FMG local board approval is required for out-of-state student travel. And while the district is not providing any funding for this trip, the administration recommends requiring each student and his or her guardian to sign the parental authorization and release for medical treatment and other participation form, and release of the liability and acknowledgement for international student travel. So board, once again, we're just bringing this to you because as they're going internationally, representing Duncanville, we want to make sure we do our due diligence, but also we have to make sure that we're covered as a district. I would like to share with you that at this time, I believe 100%, am I correct in saying that, Ms. Dawson, have signed? 100% of our students and their parents have signed the legal forms, all of the forms that have been required. The parents are excited and ecstatic about the opportunity, and so are the children. So I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, and if any question that you have that I'm not able to answer, Ms. Dawson is here to support us in that area.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the out-of-state travel for the Duncanville High School Hi-Hat Drill Team for the purpose of performing aboard a Carnival cruise departing from Galveston, Texas, and traveling to Cozumel, Mexico, April 6th through 10th, 2023, as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Dr. Nix. Now, we'll move on to action item D. I'll let you say it, but I'll say do the math. Dr. Jordan, you're up.
That was excellent, sir. Good evening, President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. As we continue on our journey to writing success stories one student at a time, it is imperative more than ever that we identify the intervention resources that meet the needs of our students right now, all of our students. So we began looking at intervention resources at the beginning of the year, and our focus was on reading. We know that that is the foundation for all things learning, and we were able to purchase intervention resources, 2 main programs. It's called SIPS, Education, we like acronyms. So it's a systematic instruction in phoneme awareness. So again, building literacy knowledge with our students, and then Imagine Learning. Both programs are focused in on language development and support our EL learners. So we've been excited to launch those reading programs at the campus. I'm even more excited to share with you Do the Math from Heinemann. Do the Math is a hands-on intervention resource. So when we talk about intervention, this is in addition to their core instruction time that they receive. Our students and our teachers are having to redefine learning. What does it look like coming back after a pandemic? And so it's been important for us to unplug our students, so take them off electronic devices when we're looking at their numeracy gaps and have hands-on experiences for them. In addition to having hands-on experiences for our students, Do the Math is a phenomenal resource for our teachers. Our teachers are giving everything that they have, and we want them to be able to focus on that core instruction. So Do the Math is a plug-and-play intervention resource for our teachers. So it's almost like guided reading when you think about the little baggie kits that students bring home with the book that's at their reading level. Do the Math is the partner for that. So it will actually have math resources for our students where their learning gaps are. Our teachers are able to pick up the kits and assign them to the students, and the students can work through their intervention process. So we are excited that, one, we found a resource that meets the needs of our students in Duncanville, for our English language learners, for our diverse, our economically disadvantaged, and then it also meets the needs of our teachers. So we're not adding one more thing to their plate. So when we look at Do the Math, a couple of just things to keep in mind. Do the Math purchase is a stay-in-the-classroom resource for our teachers. So it's not something that we will have to renew every single year. So similar to those guided reading books, I don't know if any of you have had anyone bring those home, right? They're sacred. They have to come back to school. We won't be releasing those kits. And then the second thing is our teachers will receive professional development on what do we do with Do the Math. And what I love the most is that the resources come with a library, a bookcase. So they're going to be delivered, set up in all the classrooms. So hopefully the campus can just continue without having to do anything to set them up. They should be ready to go when the resources arrive. So it is my recommendation that we approve the purchase of the Do the Math intervention resources from Heinemann. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Dr. Humphrey?
Dr. Jordan?
Yes, ma'am.
So these are more like manipulative, so is this to be integrated during instruction for lower levels?
So it is hands-on, concrete examples. We can integrate it in the core instruction time. Teachers will have the resources to do that and also use them outside of the core instruction time. So during the intervention win time that's built into the calendar.
Okay. So we're not replacing, what are we using now for math?
So we currently have in our math, we have many different manipulatives, but we still use our Heinemann resources as well. So we're not replacing that. This is an added layer
This
too.
is in addition to?
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Jordan, I have a question.
Yes.
So paint me a picture of what this looks like. So they have this bag, and are they taking them out as they are instructing the lesson, or are they left alone to do this, or is there a guided TA in the room?
So the short answer to your question is yes, all of the above, but I'll walk you through. So a student is in what I need when time. Based upon your assessment and progress monitoring, so think about a baseline, going and have vital signs done. The student will score at a certain level. During that certain level, there's a time for you to be at the teacher table. There's direct teach resources for the teacher with you at the teacher table. So an example might be that you need support with regrouping and subtraction. So there's an activity. I'll go to my library as the teacher, pick regrouping with subtraction, level F. That kind of sorts you by grade. I pick that up, and then it has the activity for you while you're at the teacher table. There's also activities, if you're not at the teacher table, that you can work on independently at your instructional level so that you're not frustrated while the teacher's working with the teacher table.
Right, and that was my concern. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other?
So what is this Do the Math implemented in other districts, and what success have they seen over what period of time?
I can get you the specific districts that we use, that use this resource. It is a part of our Maryland Burns package, and so many districts in the Metroplex use Do the Math. It's packaged with our Heinemann resources, so our core materials, but I will get you a specific list of districts that use them. I do know that one of the Mansfield uses Do the Math, and they've been using it for several years now. Again, demographics, districts are very different, but they do believe, and when we met with them, they said that the hands-on resources have been so helpful for their teachers and students, but I can gather specific data for you.
Okay, and then also, when are these resources anticipated to arrive?
So we, upon board approval, will place the order for these resources, and they should be in our district and ready to launch before we leave for holiday break, Christmas break.
Grand Prairie uses it too.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the purchase of Do the Math intervention and resources from Heinemann for $150,835.89?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, thank you.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Carries 7-0. You're still up.
Yes, sir. Last month, we reviewed the district improvement plans and the campus improvement plans, and I stated that I would be bringing forward the targeted improvement plans for us to review. So tonight, it is my pleasure to share with you our 4 school improvement campuses targeted improvement plans. Next slide. I want to take just a moment to talk about school improvement and then our accountability ratings. I think that's essential for this year and then moving forward. So we have a state accountability system that we follow, and then we have a federal accountability system. Under state, our state looks at our 3 domains, so student achievement, school progress, closing the gaps, and they take all the data from those 3 domains and they give district and campuses an A through C or not rated label. Then, when we look at our federal, they also look at those 3 domains, and instead of receiving an A through C not rated label, campuses receive a school improvement label. It just so happened that our 4 school improvement campuses this year are not rated, but I do want us to understand those are 2 different houses. So we could easily have a campus that is a B campus and still be a school improvement campus. So I say all of this, and I feel very confident in it, and then this year, we are undergoing a STAR redesign. So as confident as we are in the state accountability system and the federal accountability system, we will see a shift in STAR redesign, and I'm going to share more details with you about that later. Next slide. So as we look at our federal accountability side, we have campuses that have been identified as comprehensive support and improvement schools. So CSI. When we look at those campuses, they meet 2 criteria areas. That closing the gaps domain is in the lowest 5 percentile of their all Title I schools. When we're talking about closing the gap, that's disaggregated data within demographics to show the difference between accountability groups, whether that's race, whether that's economically disadvantaged. They take all of the Title I schools, they look at that information, and if your campus is in the lowest 5% and your overall scale score, that's the score that we see. Duncanville ISD was a B this year, 82. That overall main score is in the lowest percentile, then you are a school improvement campus. So our 4 schools that we're talking about tonight were in the lowest 5 percentile for the closing the gaps domain, and then they're also in the lowest percentile for their overall scaled score. Next slide. So I'm going to share with you the 4 campuses, where we are, students, staff, what's our plan, what are we doing differently, but I do want to give you a little just asterisk right here. Our taper, which is our annual performance data that comes out, has not been released. So as we think about our school improvement campuses, we're talking about last year. That data has not been officially released to us, so as I share numbers with you, these are approximate numbers based upon the last reporting information that we have. So these numbers will fluctuate a little bit, but I assure you, as soon as we have final numbers, I will get those to you. Next slide. So our first campus is Alexander. As a reminder, this is last school year, so thinking about how they moved into school improvement. If you'll look, their enrollment numbers for last year's listed, their demographics right in the middle, and remember that's in that closing the gaps domain. They are comparing how well our students perform against each one of the accountability group areas. And then attendance and mobility rate. I want to point out mobility rate for everyone. Your mobility rate is the number of students who attended school 83% of the year. So that means a student can miss up to 6 weeks of school. And then after they miss more than 6 weeks of school, they're counted as mobile. So they're going from one place to another. So just thinking about students who are there, I've missed 5 weeks of school, that still counts for that campus accountability. But they miss 6 or more, they're mobile, and it goes towards a different campus. Next slide. So Alexander by the number staff, again, looking at last year. I do have here leadership experience, that's for the building principal. Note that we do have a new building principal at Alexander, but it's very important as we're looking at last year's data to get a clear snapshot of what Alexander looked like last year. Next slide. So thinking about the closing the gaps domain, we can assume that since all 4 campuses are school improvement, their skill score was in the lowest percentile, automatically. Now we look at the closing the gaps domain. The cut score for our campuses to be above school improvement was 66. Alexander's overall score is 55. Next slide. So you think, okay, what are we going to do? What are they doing to be very intentional? Our goal is to make sure, my mom used to say, jack of all trades, master of none, to really focus the work and the effort at our campuses. And so this year, Alexander is focusing in on effective classroom routines and instructional strategies, essential to the learning environment, and then they're also working to develop and align vision, mission, goals. Who are we and what do we believe at Alexander Elementary? How do we ensure that we have excellence for all students? Next slide. I could stand up here all night, but I won't, to share all the great things that are going on at the campuses, but I do want to point out for Alexander, highlight, these are key practices that we see through artifacts, through evidence, day-to-day in the building, that Alexander has focused heavily on building and redefining that campus culture, loving our kids wherever they are, loving on our staff wherever they are, and they are working to develop a shared vision and ownership for learning. It's important that everyone believes that all kids can learn, and then they're also focused heavily on positive student reinforcements. It's hard. Students are not intrinsically motivated like they used to be, so it is important for us to develop that again, and so they are celebrating the great things going on with students. Next slide. So our second school improvement campus is Bill Hart's. Again, you can see Bill Hart's by the numbers, looking at their student data. One of the key areas to look at, and I did not point this out, is that economically disadvantaged number. That number tells us where our campuses fall with different comparison groups. Thinking about Duncanville ISD, Bill Hart's is in a group with students or campuses with 90% economically disadvantaged student. So earlier when I gave the example of Mansfield for an intervention program, that's not one that we would normally look at heavily because their students don't mirror our students. And then you have the mobility rate for Bill Hart's, so 16% of those students either attended 83% or moved in and missed us 6 weeks. Next slide. Again, the staff by the numbers, as a reminder, this is approximate and it's a year-old data, but we will update. Next slide. Closing the gaps domain, we needed a score of 66. Bill Hart's had an overall score of 51. Again, effective classroom routines and instructional strategies, essential. And that's a great reset for Bill Hart's. Ms. Nelms-Harris has been at that campus for 5 years. Sometimes after you've made that 3-4 year shift, reestablishing the tone, setting new standards, and focusing in is great. And they have a data-driven instruction culture. And really what that data-driven instruction culture means is they are being very responsive to students' daily data. It's when you go to the doctor and your vitals are taken. Maybe your blood pressure's elevated a little bit. You want to be responsive right away. You don't want to wait a month for test results to come in. So we are getting vital signs, doing wellness checks on our students, and we are responding immediately so that we can be proactive instead of reactive. Next slide. Again, lots of great things going on at Bill Hart's. I will say, because Ms. Nelms-Harris has been at that campus for 5 years, she has really been super focused on intentional instructional planning. The magic happens in planning. You know, teachers will get up and they will deliver a phenomenal lesson, or they will not deliver a phenomenal lesson. More than half that battle is what they did during planning. And so Bill Hart's has been very intentional about making sure that lessons are engaging, lessons are aligned, and they've been leveraging teachers across the campus to help. Next slide. Our third campus is Hastings Elementary. Again, here, you will see the enrollment information. I do want to point out the enrollment number on the slide, 518, may not match what's in your board book, but the 518 is the accurate number. Again, you will see attendance and then the mobility rate for Hastings. Next slide. There's staff data for 2021-22. Next slide. And then, again, cut score of 66. Hastings had an overall score of 50. Next slide. you'll see a trend maybe here. We were hyper-focused on effective classroom routines and instructional strategies, and then data-driven instruction, being very responsive. Next slide. One of the areas that I would love to highlight for Hastings is that the campus leadership has been focused on building teacher capacity. If you drive by Hastings on a Saturday, you're going to see Ms. Robinson there facilitating professional development with her teachers. She's also working on video exemplars. So it's one thing for me to tell you, it's another thing for me to show you, and then it's a third thing for me to leave you with something that you can plug, play, watch at your own time. Next slide. Our last campus is Smith Elementary. Enrollment information, students information. Please take note here that Smith's mobility rate is 22%. And that's essential as I share their action items with you. Next slide. Staff by the numbers, or Smith by the numbers for staff. Next slide. Closing the gap, Smith's overall score is a 59, cut score 66. 22% of their students are coming and going, but still making some progress towards the 66. Next slide. So when you think about the last two campuses, we talked about data-driven instruction. Smith, still focused on effective classroom routines and instructional strategies, but similar to Alexander, they're having a reset. They're having to establish who are we at Smith? What do we believe at Smith? Not just for staff, but also for the students that are moving in and out, and then focusing in on high expectations for all. Next slide. One of the many things that I love about Ms. Dennis and what's going on at Smith is she has really been celebrating attendance. So we have students that are moving in and out, students who are coming, students who are going, but she's been celebrating, yay, you're here, we love you, we're so excited, or we missed you. So in addition to the data goal setting, they are really working to make sure that everyone is celebrated and know that they are loved. Next slide. So all those things are happening at the campus, and I could just walk away and say they're going to make magic happen, but it's essential for us at the district level to be equally committed to the work. And so as we are talking about new initiatives, as we are talking about programs, as we are talking about support, we are hyper-focused to make sure that the areas that the campuses are committed to improving, we are committed to supporting through monitoring and accountability, through systems, and also through a partnership. We are staying faithful to our plan. We can course correct as needed, but we're trying to make sure that everyone knows the priority and everyone knows the focus. Next slide. So I mentioned this earlier, and I want to just spend a few minutes here. For the past few years, we've been working under one accountability system, and then this year, we were told that STAR will be redesigned. So I think of this like HGTV. When it's like maybe a redesign or a remodel for your bathroom. You're going to go away for a week or two, you'll come back, your bathroom will be finished. That's what I would consider a redesign, right? What it seems like is this is an overhaul. Like we're gonna start from, similar to the TLC, the concrete, right, and go up. And so when we talk about this redesign, it appears to be a large shift for the blueprint. One of the things that TEA has not released is what officially does this redesign look like. So they're kind of teasing out every now and again, oh, here's the new change, oh, here's the new change. They will not officially tell us what this flip your house or flip STAR looks like until after accountability this year. So we're going in, like all of our other districts, somewhat blind, taking the STAR test, and once everyone tests, they will give us our ratings, and then what measures they use to rate us. What I do want us to focus in on that is very critical to Duncanville ISD and our students. There are 3 changes to the physical STAR test that have been released. 1, there are new question types. So our STAR test has been multiple choice. You read a question, A, B, C, D. As a struggling learner, as an economically disadvantaged student who may lack experiences and exposure, I can eliminate something, but still have an option for maybe 1 or 2 right answers. Now, with the STAR redesign, the state has said no more than 75% of our points can be based on multiple choice. What will happen is students will have to do what we refer to as a drag and drop, right? So put this in order. Fill in the missing information. Or they also will have to prioritize or point out what should not be there. So 75% of the points come from multiple choice. 25% of the points will come from these new STAR item types. They're peeking them out slowly. So as they release them, we're embedding them into our curriculum and our assessments to make sure our teachers are prepared and our students are prepared, but it's been a slow rollout for sure. So you're going from 3 times 7s, 21, to now you might have a picture, and then you're needing to pull out 7 rows and 3, and then create a group of 21, which is a different concept for our students. The second is cross-curricular passages. So I would traditionally read in reading about a topic. Now, our passages are based on other content areas. So I'm taking a reading STAR test that's based on a science concept, a social studies concept, or they said a fine arts concept for my reading test. So not only do I need to master reading and reading standards, I also need to have a strong educational foundation in science, in social studies, and all of those other areas. Again, I do think this is an area where students generally will struggle, but you also think about our students, where they come from. Experience and exposure is critical. If I've never visited a museum and I'm reading about a museum, or I haven't been to the Alamo and I'm reading about the battle, or if you're like me, biology is not my jam, and I'm having to read about DNA mutation, not only do I need to read, I need to interpret that concept as well. So not that it's impossible, but it will be a journey for us to get our students there. The last one is evidence-based writing. So A, B, C, D is what we're used to. Now students will be held accountable to writing in response to a reading selection. So they will read, and there will be a question, and they're expected to write to respond to that question. There's a rubric that the state will use. They just recently released part of the rubric. We've been embedding writing throughout every content area to make sure that our students are getting used to that. But our students have just overcame a pandemic. They write like they text, right? Which is not what we would say is standard English or reading. And so again, it's an area that students will truly need support in. I'm needing to understand the content, so they're writing in all content areas that's tested. I also need to understand the mechanics of writing, and then I need to understand how to make everything flow and come together. So I share this with you, not to send us all in panic, but this is definitely something bigger than redesigning my bathroom in 1 week, right? They have flipped our house. We will continue to monitor, and we will continue to provide updates in our curriculum, updates in PD, updates to you all, and of course, Dr. Smith, as more information is released. Next slide. You know, every day is a journey, and we are committed to taking it one step at a time. If I know nothing else as my 1 year here at Duncanville, I know that all of our students are gifted. It's our job to unwrap that package and to see what's inside. And each package can be unwrapped at a different time. And so what we're going to do is chip away slowly, but we will make sure that all of our kids can and all of our students will. Next slide. So I know I've shared a lot of information with you, and I apologize, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Yes, ma'am.
For the presentation, I have a question regarding Alexander. Actually, the same question for all of them. So, in looking at the number of new teachers, 14, how many teachers are at this particular school?
So I am going to defer to Dr. Goodman and see if she can share, or Ms. Brown. I love the way that went from one here.
360.
We're going to get that information for you, Ms. Colton.
So I guess, I guess my question is for Dr. Smith, and I briefly, shared my concerns. At the schools that are struggling, it appears that a lot of the teachers are like new teachers, or they have very limited experience. So, what are some of the things that we can do to help these schools, be able to achieve learning? That's my concern.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Colton. Several thoughts on that. Dr. Jordan, you can chime in on some of the specific initiatives, as well as Kathleen, that we have. We've talked about the challenge that we have with the current staffing challenges that we're dealing with. We have a lot of substitutes in our classrooms now. We have a lot of teachers that we're working to build their ability to work with our kids and the pedagogy that's needed to teach. So we're having to work our way through those challenges, and that's going to involve a lot of training, a lot of very targeted professional development that we have in place already. But it is going to be a journey for us because, the staffing challenges have presented just a different dynamic that we're dealing with. If you think about before, you didn't have as much turnover, and you had teachers that had a wealth of experience. And so they're able to pivot and make adjustments on some of these changes at a much faster rate than someone who doesn't have that experience. So we're having to really think through what this is going to look like for us moving forward. And I think we're going to be, in a really good position to make some adjustments that we need to make. Dr. Jordan, you were mentioning the professional development, the mentoring that we're doing, and even with our TAP program, Kathleen.
So we have redefined or shifted our mentoring program so that we're building capacity in our teacher mentors so that they can help support our new teachers. We also have a multi-layer elementary campuses are adding in an additional collaboration time for their teachers. I also think of it similar to coaching. Everyone needs a coach, right? Students also, if you were ever around kids, they respond well to their coach, and then they go away from their coach, and you're like, why are they so great for Coach McNeely, but they don't behave that way for me? So we've really been working on that coaching job-embedded mentality. Students do well in extracurricular and in athletics because they receive immediate feedback. So we're trying to provide that to our principals. So we have the school improvement principals with us once a month, focused solely on instruction and data. And then with the partnership of everyone here, we are on campuses coaching those principals in the moment. That is so essential so they can turn and coach their teachers in the moment. So that's another layer as well. And then I know Dr. Smith mentioned TAP as well for our teachers who are coming in. So Kathleen, do you want to share? Mm-hmm. Yes, and Ms. Colton, while Kathleen's coming up, for Alexander, Bill Hart's, Hastings, and then Alexander, Bill Hart's, and Hastings, anywhere between 30 to 40 teachers on the campus, and then for Smith, 21 for the 2021 school year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so with what Dr. Jordan has shared, the teacher apprentice program, those individuals come to us, and of course, they don't yet have a bachelor's degree, and so our full-time subs are not yet certified. And so what the mentor piece looks like for them, it's much different than someone who's coming and they're already certified. So one of the things that has happened most recently is what the team leader looks like at the elementary level. And so long gone are the days where you're on this first grade team and everybody on the team is certified. We may have various years of experience. Now, I may be the team leader and I'm certified, and I have 2 full-time substitutes and a teacher apprentice on the team. What support looks like for those individuals is much different. And so no, money won't do everything, but we have started with stipends at our elementary level, because the team leader now is a whole nother role. And that person also has their own classroom of students that they are taking care of and supporting. And so all of the layers of support that our curriculum and instruction department, along with that in-the-job coaching from someone on that team who is certified, is critical. And so how we team at campuses matters. When we're moving people around, that matters, because we're trying to make sure that we have someone on the team that's the expert at that particular grade level. But it's an uphill battle every day. But with the team that we have, we know we're prepared for it.
It's just another sign of the post-pandemic repercussions, because before COVID, there's no way we would have allowed 19 new teachers to all be on one campus, but all of the campuses are having similar percentages of new teachers, and it's not just okay, we can have a concentrated number of subs or new teachers or tap teachers here. Everybody is pretty much dealing with the same thing, and it's going to take some time to get us out.
Dr. Jordan, I have a question. So you mentioned regarding the testing and the reading, there is going to be a point where they write.
Yes.
So where before they didn't have this time to write. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
So my concern or my question is, who will read? And is that, I mean, that's a lot. Then what grade level are we talking about that's going to be doing this? And is it objective or subjective?
So it is every tested grade level will participate in writing for their response. So third grade and up, and every tested subject. TEA has stated originally that it was going to be computer graded, but they've now changed, and they said that they will actually have someone hand grade every single response, which is why right now we're thinking we won't have STAR results or accountability results until September of the next year.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Colton?
So, what if the schools are not able to, show measurable progress?
So with campuses currently being a comprehensive school, and let's say that they still remain in that lowest 5 percentile, they will remain a comprehensive school for year 2. With an additional level of accountability at the district level and then at the state level as well.
Okay, and after?
So they have 3 years of comprehensive. So after the 3rd year of comprehensive, it used to be the old redesign, reconstitution of a school. The TEA has not released, or the federal government has not released what happens year 3, because that original plan happened during pandemic.
So, I know that, some other districts, they pay more, if you happen to teach in a school that needs a lot more help than others. And is that effective, the higher teacher salaries?
I would have to say that it's probably subjective and or based on the demographics of the district. I'm sure there's many things that go into play with that. Not just this is a high demand, high needs campus and we're putting the best teachers over here. I think depending on the district, how they shifted their teachers, how the other campuses were performing, and then whatever curriculum, instruction, and campus level and district level supports they have in place. So I think it's based on each individual district and then your needs, your students, and your teachers. And then it's kind of one of those things where you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? And so we're playing that game of whack-a-mole. We put everyone that we feel is highly effective over to help this campus, but as soon as we pull that support, we see campuses and districts that go on a roller coaster ride.
If I may add, my comments are certainly not to be dismissive of our friends next door in Dallas ISD. So that's my qualifying statement. But they do have a program where teachers earn more money if they get higher star scores. And so we have some data that we can look at, like right next door to us, on the benefits of such a program. And there are pros, but there are certainly some challenges that we've seen in the information that they put out. So maybe we can pull some of that together and share it with the board.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the campus targeted improvement plans for the 22-23 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Carries 7-0. Thank you, Dr. Jordan. You spend a lot of time up here. Okay. Moving on now to, we don't have any information and discussion items. God, I can't believe it. Then we move on, do we have any communications from citizens? No? Okay, seeing that we don't have anything else to do, let's go home. We're adjourned.
Thank you.